At the class reunion, the man accidentally dropped his car keys on the ground. Only then did all the classmates realize that the once despised, bullied beggar was now driving a luxury car none of them could afford. The man's parents divorced when he was young, and his mother soon abandoned him. He became an orphan with no one to rely on. Thankfully, his uncle would often send him food. Otherwise, he would have starved to death. However, his uncle was still serving in the military at the time. He would send him some living expenses every couple of months. So, he had no money for clothes and never changed his clothes. Because of the smell, everyone called him a beggar. No one wanted to play with him. Over time, he became withdrawn and eventually developed depression. But when he was in high school, he fell for the class beauty. However, he knew deep down that someone as excellent as her would never like him. Until one day, he accidentally knocked the class beauty's pen to the ground. He quickly picked it up, apologized, and cleaned it on his clothes. But this act only brought about the disdain of his classmates. When he cautiously tried to return the pen to the class beauty, he was kicked away by the rich boy in the class, who publicly called him a shameless beggar, and even accused him of touching the class beauty's pen with his filthy hands. As he tried to hand the pen back to the class beauty again, she turned around, looked at the classmates with disgust, and gave him a crushing blow, saying the pen was too dirty and she didn't want it. But he always remembered this line, because he knew the class beauty looked down on him, thinking he was dirty. Later, without money for college, he worked on a construction site to earn living expenses, but he never discarded the class beauty's pen. It was then that he swore to make something of himself. The next second, a small car crashed right in front of him. He rushed to save the person and called the police. This act unexpectedly changed his life. The next day, the car owner, grateful for his life-saving help, gave him $100,000 as a reward. In those days, $100,000 was a huge sum. Not knowing how to manage the money, he handed it over to his uncle, who had just returned from the military. His uncle immediately decided to use the money to start a business. Years passed, and his uncle's clothing factory grew bigger. As the largest shareholder, he also received substantial dividends. One day, as he was about to leave with his millions in earnings, he unexpectedly saw the class beauty coming to the factory for an interview. He wanted to greet her, but she turned and left crying. Only then did he realize she hadn't been hired. He was about to chase after her but suddenly remembered her disdainful expression from back then. Perhaps she had already forgotten about him. Just then, his phone rang. It was a message from the classmates organizing a reunion. He decided to use the opportunity to return the pen to the class beauty, and accepted the invitation to the reunion. On the day of the reunion, the rich boy from back then was showing off his new car on the side of the road. All the classmates were envious, since most of them had come by bus. Just as the rich boy was boasting, he suddenly saw a car parked ahead that was several levels higher than his. A group of classmates immediately surrounded the car, but they didn't realize the man was sitting inside. Since the car had one-way glass, people outside couldn't see inside. The rich boy started tapping on the window, trying to be friendly with the person inside, but the man didn't care about the second-generation rich kid who had bullied him. Seeing that there was no response, the rich boy reluctantly led the classmates away. When they got to the hotel lobby, the class beauty called out to the man. He thought she had recognized him. He couldn't help but touch the pen in his hand, but to his surprise, the class beauty didn't recognize him at all. She just shook his hand and left with the other classmates. In the reunion hall, the rich boy kept bragging to the classmates, while the man ignored him and ate his meal. At that moment, the teacher walked over. The man quickly stood up to greet him. The teacher asked where he worked. He simply said he worked at a clothing factory. Everyone assumed he was just a regular employee on the assembly line. After all, such a large company wasn't something just anyone could get into. Then the teacher suddenly remembered the stinky beggar from high school. The rich boy immediately became interested. He said the beggar used to reek and had ruined the class beauty's pen. The classmates all found this amusing. Everyone wondered how the beggar was doing now. No one recognized the man as the beggar. At that moment, the class beauty stepped forward to defend him. She said everyone had bullied him in high school and should apologize, instead of talking behind his back. This made the man look at her in a new light. He never expected the class beauty would defend him. However, the teacher said it was fine to apologize. After all, the man didn't have money to go to college and was probably the poorest among them. It was better to help him whenever they could. At this point, the rich boy took out his car keys, saying he was short of a driver and would contact him later. As everyone laughed at the man, he accidentally dropped his car keys on the floor. All the classmates stared in shock. Back then, owning a car was rare, and his car was even better than the rich boy's. Just as the man was about to pick up the keys, the rich boy grabbed them. He couldn't believe the man could drive such a car. He insisted the keys were just a lighter. He pressed the button again, and the sound of the car unlocking was heard. The rich boy was in disbelief and pressed the window button again. To his shock, the car they had seen on the road made a sound. At that moment, all the classmates rushed to flatter the man. The teacher, who had taught for over 20 years, exclaimed that he never expected to have a boss as a student. He asked the man his name, and as everyone eagerly waited, the man coldly sneered and said he was just a beggar, and everyone was stunned.